Hello everyone, welcome to episode 7 of Snowcraft. This episode is kind of a continuation of the last one, because last time we started building a farm for the best food in the game, or what I decided is the best food in the game, honey glazed ham, and I got all of the crop farms out of the way in that episode, so you don't have to go watch it. It's really not that much. I did sweet berry farm there, we got a rice farm there, and we have a carrot farm here, and I've actually been quite busy in between episodes testing these farms out. If we head down to the kind of work area down here where all of the functional stuff is to actually harvest the crops up above, I've added a little rate onto each of these, and this is a rate in ham per hour instead of the rate of like rice per hour that this farmer is producing. I've gone ahead and I've divided that by 2 because you need 2 per ham, so it's a number that you can actually compare for the 3 different farms. This one's the limiting factor at 35 ham per hour, and sweet berries are something like 54, and then the carrots are by far the highest at 92, but the carrot is also a very approximate number, because the thing is, this recipe doesn't have carrots in it. The thing it does have is smoked ham, and the way you get ham is it's a large cut of meat from a pig or a hoglin's leg. We can't farm hoglins because if you bring them to the overworld, they kind of die. So we have to farm pigs instead, and that's what the carrots are for. And theoretically, it's 2 carrots to get a new pig, and it's 50% chance for that pig to drop a piece of ham. So it should be 4 carrots to 1 piece of ham, and that's how I've gotten this number of ham per hour. But this number is probably not quite accurate, so let's go build a ham farm and figure out the real number. Well, realistically, it probably is, but this transition doesn't work as well if that's the case. Anyway, I'm in a creative testing world to kind of come up with a design for this pig farm, and my basic idea is I've got some pigs on top of iron bars inside of a little fence, and if I turn on their hitboxes here, they barely can stand on top of those iron bars without falling through. But baby pigs are a lot smaller, so if we breed up some of these guys, hopefully they will breed a baby pig and the baby pig will fall straight through. So that works great, and we should be able to pretty easily automate the breeding process with a deployer and a little bit of rotational energy, which luckily for me in a creative world I can just use a creative engine, which I don't have to do a windmill or anything, but in the survival world it'll have to be a little bit more complicated than this. But if I give this creative crate, which is an infinite source of items, carrots, it should give that to the deployer and it'll start breeding the pigs, and any second now, we should start getting a shower of baby pigs, a totally humane thing to be doing. And this works so well because the pigs' hitboxes are actually slightly overlapping here, so despite the fact that this deployer doesn't quite look like it's hitting them, it can actually hit all of the 10 pigs that are in here because their hitboxes all overlap in the center there. But now we need a way to collect those baby pigs in an actually useful way, so I've added this bit of water here, and if we turn the breeding thing back on, they should hopefully all just end up in here. I've had to place this water a little bit janky so that these corners actually push them in that way. It looks like it's going great, and now these baby pigs can grow up in here until we are ready to kill them, because if we kill them as babies, they don't drop anything. Luckily for us, there's a really easy way to detect that. I've put the baby pigs on top of a slab here, and if we look at their hitboxes, baby pigs are really short. They're in fact still fully within this bottom block here, so if we just put something in this top block that kills them, that should work just fine. And that thing specifically has to be a deployer with a knife, because if you kill them by any other method, they won't drop ham. The only way for them to get that 50% chance ham drop is to kill them with a knife. So we've got a knife stabbing above their heads, and as soon as any of these pigs grow up, they will get hit by this knife, they'll die, and the ham will drop out of here because the deployer will collect it. And I've done a fair bit of testing with this little setup here, and I found that pretty much no baby pigs falling in here ever die to the knife. They occasionally get hit by the knife, but it doesn't one-shot them, so all the baby pigs will survive this fall. Unlike like lava, for instance, where they would fall through the lava and instantly burn to a crisp. So now all we need to do is make sure this thing is efficient enough that it doesn't bottleneck our system. Currently, it is using 10 carrots a minute, or 10 carrots every 5 minutes, sorry, because that's the cooldown for these pigs to breed, and there's 10 of them, and that equates to about 120 carrots every hour. Our carrot farm, on the other hand, produces 368 carrots an hour. So I think what I'm going to do is just kind of make more of this same module, because it's the kind of thing where it's kind of hard to make it any bigger. I could add more pigs in here, but then entity cramming starts to be a problem with the baby pigs at the bottom, so it's just a whole mess. So I think I'm just going to make this same thing 4 more times. I can do it in kind of like, I can just do a little rotational pattern here, and that should work just fine, and it'll consume all of the carrots that our farm is producing, and I don't really care that that's producing way more ham than we have rice for. it'll be fine. And more importantly, it'll match the ham per hour rate that's posted right here, because boy, do I like being right. So let's get building on this thing. It's going to go right actually behind the carrot farm here, right underground. And there's going to be a little like physical or pretty pig pen up here that's just aesthetic, but the actual farm is going to be fully underground, and I'm going to build that part first. So I've got to go dig out a whole lot of this area, and it looks like some of it's flooded, so this should be really fun. Actually, that wasn't that bad, probably because I decided to dig on the other side of the carrot farm. I started digging here, but then I quickly ran into a little bit of outside area there, ran into the underwater cave over here, so I gave up and I dug over here because I realized there's no real reason to have the functional part of the pig farm directly underneath the pretty part of the pig farm. So the pretty part's going to be up here, and the functional part is going to be in this hole kind of under where the house is going to go, I guess. So now we have plenty of space to actually get this thing in. And I'm just going to start building it, because I don't think there's anything really that complicated in this. I'm just going to build the same design I showed earlier 4 times. Well, mostly not complicated. I've gone ahead and put in all of the easy stuff, like the pig pens and the water and the drop shafts. I've also gotten most of the deployers in, but I haven't done power networks for the deployers or carrot distribution or getting items out of these deployers. So I have to do all that, but most importantly, I have to get the pigs in, because this farm I think needs 40 pigs in it. And yeah, I don't have any of those. So that's what I'm going to do. Before I get all of the power network stuff in, I'm going to get the pigs in just so it's as simple as possible. And actually, I think I even need to get rid of this stuff to fit pigs in, because I can't actually get them into the pens with stuff above them. There we go. And now it's time for pigs. Unfortunately, they don't really spawn in the snowy biomes that my base is in, but I've got another portal that goes over to a plains biome, and that should work just fine. So I've got some leads, I've got some carrots. I'm going to try and bring them through the nether. And by the nether, I mean the nether roof, which should work pretty well, because I honestly can't really imagine anything going wrong up here. In fact, I might actually be in more danger out here at nighttime than I am on the nether roof, but I've got my pigs, so let's head back. There we go. Now the plan is I'm just going to breed these guys up and kind of distribute those pigs until we have 10 pigs in each pen. And actually, now that I'm done with the hard part of getting 2 in each pen, I'm going to go ahead and start working on distributing the carrots to deployers that I should probably place back in, and doing the rest of the stuff just because breeding pigs can be pretty boring. First thing I've gotten in here is the carrot distribution, and it ended up a little bit janky because I realized my output is directly in line with the first one of these, so it goes through that one, and then it continues to be distributed by this little thing in the middle to the other 3. And once those fill up, the last one here will also fill up, because the entire system will get kind of clogged. And it's a little imperfect, but it should work just fine. And in fact, I can actually test it out. I just don't have power yet, so I have to hand crank this thing like a peasant. And it seems like it's working, as in the carrots have stopped moving, which means all of these deployers should have a full stack of carrots in there, but I'm paranoid, so of course I have to double check. And now that we have that, next up is the power system, which is just a windmill at the bottom here. I've made it look like a 3x3, but realistically it's a lot bigger than that. I just did this because it maxes out the windmill and gets us 1 more RPM than not having those 8 blocks at the top does. So this is all running at 16 RPM, which is kind of slow, but honestly, because of the 5-minute cooldown for pigs breeding and the 20-minute cooldown for pigs growing up, we should be all good. And speaking of that, we're actually almost done here. I only need 1 pig left in this cell, so if these guys are breedable right now, which they are, it looks like we're all good. And I want to double check that I've actually managed to get as many pigs in here as I want. And the way I'm going to do that is by going ahead and doing /effect give. And if I give that effect to all pigs, if we just make that I don't know, night vision for 1 second, applied night vision to 40 targets, and that means there's 40 pigs here, so we're all good. Unless, of course, I did 1 extra in here and 1 too few in there, but I was pretty careful about counting it, so I think we've got 10 pigs in each pen. And now that I've got the whole collection system in down here, we've got an item vault that's detecting how much is in and displaying it up there. We've got some funnels just to output all the ham that's getting collected, and of course a bunch of conveyor belts, so I think it's time. Let's go ahead and test this farm out and see how accurate that 92 ham per hour is. Actually pretty good. I got 102 ham per hour, which is not far off from my 92. I ran the farm for a total of 2.5 hours, but actually this number is lower than it should be, because the thing is, this 102 is done with the assumption that the ham farm is getting limited by how fast this carrot farm is producing, but I have an enormous surplus of carrots, so it's not. So So theoretically, this number should be 120, because I should be getting 10 ham every 5 minutes, which gets 120 per hour, but it's not. It's 102, and in fact, it wasn't really getting 10 ham every 5 minutes. It, on average, about got like 8 every 5 minutes, and rarely got more than 10. So I don't really know what's going on. It's underproducing. There's definitely the right amount of pigs and everything, but it's producing way less than it theoretically should be. But at the same time, 102 ham per hour is still way more than our current limiting factor of 35 ham per hour, so I don't really care. I'm just going to call this farm done and move on to the last ingredient we need, the other nominal ingredient, a honey farm. And I've hopped over into a creative testing world to show off some designs for that. The first one we have here is the vanilla honey farm design, and the only reason I'm showing you this is to tell you I won't be building it. It's kind of big and clunky. You need all of this stuff for every single beehive. You need a bunch of redstone, you need a dispenser, some hoppers, and of course we have the bees, but those shockingly, we can't get rid of those with the create mod, but we can get rid of almost everything else. This is a create mod honey farm design. It is a beehive, a pump, and a tank, and the pump and the tank aren't even required for every single one of these. You need like one pump per a billion hives like I have over here. This is still running off of one pump, but there's 45 of these hives, and this thing produces some like 700 honey bottles an hour. It's quite ridiculous, and that does mean you need quite the amount of bees. I think there's some insane amount of bees in here. I think it's 135 times 2, which apparently I can't do in my head and didn't do before recording this clip, but yeah, a ton of bees. And because of that, I'm actually probably going to scale this down a bit before I actually build it. I'll just cut off like 2 rows of this probably, and that'll still be way more than I need. But I'm going to hop back into the survival world and get digging on a hole for this thing. Much quicker digging process here than the entire like ham farm thing was, to the point that I've actually also just built the entire thing, at least the entire thing that I have the resources for right now, because I don't have beehives. But you know, I've got all the piping in, I've got the pump in, and I've got a tiny little windmill powering the pump, and of course we have a big tank. And I might expand this later. I just went with a 3x3x3 for now, because honestly 216 buckets of honey is a lot, but like I could always have more, you know, so I might expand that later. But for now, I've got to go actually get bees, and luckily I have a cherry grove biome pretty close by that I got these leaves from, so let's head over there. I've brought my entire setup with me because the idea is I'm going to sit here and I'm going to craft beehives pretty much. There's a bunch of bees in cherry grove biomes because they generate like crazy here, and I've been here before. This is my main source of beeswax for candles, but there's a ton of hives, so I'm going to use the flower petals on the ground to breed these bees and use the beeswax I can gather from these guys to actually make more hives. I think the first order of business is I'm going to take all of the current beehives that are in here and congregate them. And the most important thing I've brought is a Silk Touch pickaxe, which will allow me to do just that. But I kind of have to wait for them to all go inside, and the only way to guarantee that is to wait for nighttime. But my waiting hasn't been a total waste of time because I've got 21 honeycombs, which is like half of the amount I need, but it is nighttime, which means all of the bees should be safely inside of their hives, and that means I can collect them without retribution. Well, I got 6 hives in total, 2 of which seemingly are empty, which is kind of unfortunate, but after a bit of breeding, that shouldn't be an issue. And I've gone ahead and set up in this kind of central area of the cherry grove so that there's a bunch of flowers around for them to pollinate, and then I'll go ahead and gather flowers over here to actually breed them with. And once I put campfires under these guys, I should be able to gather all of their honeycomb and make my own hives to house even more bees. So I'm going to sit here and breed these guys for a bit, and I think that might make a good time lapse, so let's try that. Okay, I think we're done because it's nighttime and bees do not like being outside at night, so theoretically if any of these hives still have positions left in them and I stop holding some flowers, they should go into the hives, but none of them do. They kind of just like wander off. So I'm going to go ahead and say we're done because if these guys had spaces to go for, they would. And now, unfortunately, I do kind of have to kill them because I'm going to mine these hives here and... that was the wrong one. That was not a Silk Touch pickaxe. Okay. That is not the first time I've done that in this project. Hopefully it's the last, because now I need to make another hive, or I could just use one of these ones. That will probably work just fine. Okay, I've survived the bee attack, and now, using the correct pickaxe, I can pick all of these up, and I'm going to bring these ones back too. They should be full as well. I don't like not having, like, all uniform stuff, but these will work just as well as the other ones. And I think I might have a little bit of a problem with inventory space here. I forgot these things are not stackable. I'll have to make a couple trips. Actually, I managed to fit everything in just one inventory. I had to ditch some flower petals, which is really tragic. But now that I'm done covering this whole area in those, I think I should be fine. After a quick walk, I'm back at the base, and I have waited until it started thundering, I think is what this weather. I'm pretty sure the bees won't come out during that, and I hope I'm right, because I'm going to try placing these down. And hopefully, it looks like we're good. Okay. Yeah, so I can just do that, and it's already collecting the honey, which is very cool. I guess most of these probably have honey in them, and I've got the one non-beehive. I guess that one's a bee nest there. I think I did manage to separate the beehive. It didn't have any NBT data, so I think that was the right one, hopefully. And now that we have all these in, I have to get in all of these cherry leaves before it stops thundering, hopefully, so that these bees do not come out. And there we go. The entire thing's now sealed up, and once I clear away all this dirt, it should be, like, honestly, not the ugliest farm that I've built in this little underground area here. I'd say this one, like, it honestly looks pretty good on the scale of these underground farms. It's got a nice little bit of pink. Of course, you can't really see what's going on in there too much. I've got some amount of glass windows, but you can't really see through the cherry leaves themselves. Now I just have to wait till it stops thundering, or actually, maybe I can just sleep because it's thundering, and we can see how well this thing works. Okay, I tested this thing for like an hour. I did shorter than I did for the other ones because it was pretty quickly, very evidently, way more than I need. I only need 35 ham per hour from this thing, and we got a whole 175, so this tank is going to fill up and then probably stay filled up for the ever, essentially, because you can't really trash honey, I don't think. So, yeah, we're all good. Although this number is probably a little bit high because that was with me here, like, obsessively sleeping every single time it was nighttime or like raining or anything like that. And when it's nighttime and raining, the bees don't come out and they don't produce any honey. So this number is probably a tad bit high, but I do sleep through most nights because I don't like monsters. So hopefully it's accurate enough. And now that that's done, we have every single ingredient of honey glazed ham being automatically farmed. We've got sweet berries, we've got honey, we've got ham, we've got cooked rice, and I'm not making a bull farm because I don't need to. And yeah, we could like start making the machine to actually combine all of this stuff into the final product. But I'm not actually going to do that in today's episode because, well, I could just like stick it on the end here and it'd probably fit. I've been kind of neglecting the prettiness factor this time. You know, I haven't done an aesthetic pig farm or like an aesthetic little bit of the bees or anything. So I think next episode I'm going to make the final little bit of functionality probably somewhere back here to assemble the final honey glazed ham. And we'll also go ahead and pretty up this entire cave. I have a whole lot of plans for it. I gotta contain these overgrowing mushrooms. I want to put some roots in the ceiling, maybe some waterfalls along the wall. Hopefully it will turn out pretty good. But for now, I hope you liked this video. Like it if you did, and subscribe if you feel like it. And I'll see you next time. Bye.